Welcome back to another episode on the Gold Room podcast, part 2 with Ashok Parekh.
As you've seen this week, we've raised 175 million.
Amazing.
I went to Kalgoorlie with not one client, and within 6-12 months I had 1,000 clients.
I referred to you as the King of Kalgoorlie. What do you think of that title?
I'm very good mates with Tony Galante. It was quite funny. I'm going out with him, and Roger Cook came up to me and says, "Can I come with you?" And I said, "I'm with Galante." I photographed myself, Andrew Forrest, and my ex-wife, Marie, on there, and he said, "King of Kalgoorlie." And what happened then was he said, "Oh, that went great. There's no chance they're going to deal with us." So I said, "Leave it to me." So I went back in the room, and I'm letting you know, I've put a caveat on all your leases. And unless you do a deal with Silver Lake, you're not going to be able to sell it. And within 6 weeks, it was sold to Silver Lake Resources. I remember the time they rang me up and said, "Got a big problem with native title." I made one phone call. The native title got settled on the Monday after being in court for a year.
Amazing people, amazing stories, and that's what this bloody Gold Room thing's about. In part 1, Ashok Parekh took us from Dublin to the Goldfields, from working in the mines to qualifying as an accountant. In this episode, we unpack what happens next. The businesses, the deals, the risks, the wins, and the mindset required to build multiple companies across accounting, hospitality, and mining, while remaining deeply connected and proud of the community. Welcome back to another episode on the Gold Room podcast, part 2 with Ashok Parekh. Before we get into Ashok's story, I do have a episode sponsor, which is Core Drilling Services. Now, they turned up the other day and dropped off a little bottle of water, and it says, "On the rocks." On the rocks. I don't know who you need to contact to grab one of them, but listen to this, Ashok. As a publican, as an owner of multiple pubs in Kalgoorlie over the years, and still to this day, listen to this, mate. This is some bloody advertising, and I love a bit of advertising. We hope you enjoy our On the Rocks specialty gin, responsibly, of course. A bright aromatic gin with depth that hits pay dirt. Crisp, clean, and high grade, just like our samples. Liquid gold, no assays required, with a finish so smooth you think you've logged a new discovery.
Very poetic.
Someone very smart wrote that.
Very good.
So, Chris McMillan, Core Drilling Services, thank you very much. Come on down. Right, let's get into this, mate. So, obviously, part 1, epic. Your life story, amazing. Now, Kalgoorlie, your accounting firm. It grew rapidly in the 1980s, mid-1980s.
Yeah, certainly. Look, I went to Kalgoorlie with not one client. And within 6-12 months, I had 1,000 clients. And over the years, 20-30, I've always had 2,000-3,000 clients. So I've built a...
Do you turn people away?
Not really. Look, I'm one of these people, I try and look after everybody. Now, we've got a lot of clients we do work for that don't even get charged, which are single mums or pensioners. Or, you feel obligated to the community to look after people that can't be looked after. So, we do a lot of work, a lot of free work for some clients that can't afford to, but we've been very successful with business.
It's amazing. As well as your accounting firm, you've had the exchange. I love the story. I haven't obviously heard it from you, but I heard that an Irish bloke walked into a bar and it was the exchange. Sounds like the start of a joke, but it's true. Walked into a bar, the exchange, and said, "I want to buy this bar." And you sold him the bar, or him and his cohorts, and he ran it into the ground.
Yes.
Ish. Yep. I don't know the full story, but we'll get it out of you. And then he sold it. Now, the story I was told is Ashok bought it back.
No, that's not it.
Okay.
So I did, just going back to the liquor industry, my first involvement with liquor was in 1986, where I got involved with a great mate of mine who died recently, Dennis Moulton, and another bloke. And we took the lease of the Mount Hawthorn Hotel and converted to the Paddington Ale House. And we had that for a couple of years.
An English pub.
It was an English pub then, and I had that for a couple of years. And then in 1987, we had no money, and we made an offer to buy Sylvester's nightclub in Kalgoorlie for 1.2 million. Borrowed all the money. We had no assets, and we conned the bank into giving us the money at 18.5%. Bought Sylvester's nightclub with Harry's, and that's when I started getting involved in hotels.
Wow. Many years ago, so Sylvester's hasn't been around for a long time. You'll probably know when it's shut down more than I do, but it's a gaming lounge now.
Yes, I still own the freehold.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, but the reason I got, in the end, we gave in the license is because I bought the Palace Hotel with the Gold Bar that had a nightclub license.
The Gold Bar, yeah, I haven't.
You're not local unless you get thrown out of the Gold Bar
Yeah.
by security. So, I mean...
I was there for 5.5 years, and, I don't want to give off the wrong idea. I'm a great upstanding citizen. I'm going to say I've never been kicked out of the Gold Bar.
Okay.
But I was there for 5.5 years.
Look, I think really, I got involved with the Exchange Hotel I bought when it was in receivership.
Yep.
And I think we paid $1 million for it. And then...
What'd you sell it for? To the Irish bloke?
Irish bloke walked in the bar and said, I'll offer you $7 million. I said, you got a deal done. So we sold it to him. He went into receivership.
Yep.
And then it was sold to a consortium who now own lots of hotels. They own the Sibiac Hotel. They own Treendale.
The Trini?
Treendale. They own the Geraldton. Quite a few pubs. Very good operators. So
Hats
and
off.
good to them.
Hats off to them. How many pubs do you own currently?
At the moment, we own the Palace Hotel in Kalgoorlie, which has got the Irish pub, the Go Bar, the balcony restaurant and 80 rooms, and the Australia Hotel, which on the other side has got about 30 rooms with no liquor license.
Okay.
But I've been involved in Tats Hotel, Rockin, Club V8 nightclub, Sylvester's nightclub, Harry's nightclub. I've been involved in a lot of... I was on the HA for 20 years.
What's the HA?
Australian Hotels Association,
Okay.
which is a powerful group. I was on the executive for 10 years and vice president of the Australian Hotels Association,
Wow.
which is Crown Casino and, all the hotels. And, Bradley Woods is CEO of that. So,
Okay.
and got a lot involved with those things.
Mate, look, it's so prevalent now, mental health, right? And I know that many years ago, and still to this day, you have a hand in supporting people. Tell me the story about what you did working with the government when when there was a lot of suicides due to a tax accounting issue.
Yeah, so what happened is in the late 1990s to 2000, a lot of people in the regional areas got involved with tax schemes because there was no tax rulings.
What's a tax scheme?
What they did is they put money into these investments by investment advisors to claim a massive tax deduction, got a big refund, and the tax department came along and said, that's all wrong. We want all our money back. So there was something like 60,000 people in Australia affected. I organised a meeting with the Prime Minister of Australia, which is John Howard.
Johnny
and
Boy?
Tony Nutt, when they came to Kalgoorlie. I got the mayor, which was Paul Robson, to cancel his meeting, give the meeting to me. And I organised with two other people to put people before the Prime Minister who were nurses, who were school teachers, police officers, to say, look, the first person got up there and said, look, my marriage is broken up. My husband wants to commit suicide. And the second person who was pregnant said the same thing. And it was just tragic. What the government did not realise is that these tax schemes people put money into were not business people. These were ordinary people in Australia. And within 4 weeks, John Howard stopped all the recovery of all action in Australia for these people.
That's a great government story. We probably need more of those rather than what's going on right now. We don't do politics, we don't do religion, we don't do bad quarterly reports, but that's awesome that you got involved.
Yeah, and I also, one of the things I got involved in there was I used my contacts. So I organised Four Corners with Liz Jackson, who's a top reporter. She passed away 2 years ago, to come to Kalgoorlie, talk to the people and put it on Four Corners. So when you do that, it gets to the masses. And the government reacted, and they had a Senate inquiry with Mr. Murphy, and I got involved with the government, with the tax department, etc. I landed up in the end, years later, being awarded Centenary Medal by the Prime Minister and Governor-General of Australia.
It's a Centenary Medal?
It's a special medal given every 100 years, and it was done in 2003.
You got it?
Yeah.
It's
in my office.
Obviously, your little foray into the pub down here in Perth. Was that what? Once you got to Kalgoorlie, is that what made you think, oh shit, I'm going to have another crack up here?
Well, look, I'm born and brought up in Ireland, and you know,
12 years old on the Guinness.
Oh, we all love pubs in Ireland, so
we love pubs here in Australia too.
Yeah.
Mate.
And when I came to Australia, there was very few Irish pubs, English pubs. There was one, I think there was the Athenians, and and there's a bloke called Maurice Brockwell who started introducing them, and I got involved with him later on with a couple of pubs. But I just like the pubs. I like the pub scene. It's all changed now, but it was very good then.
In Kalgoorlie, at the Gold Bar, they've got the bloody, you can't get into the Gold Bar, even if you've got grey hair like me.
No. What happens is there's restrictions with nightclubs where you've got to have a Scantech machine and you've got to put your ID through the system. It doesn't matter if you're 90 years old. You still got to have ID.
Are you getting checked?
Yes, I put my ID through as well.
Bollocks.
Yeah.
Really?
Yes, I always do, because if the problem is the policing have video cameras everywhere. So they have it on the front door. So I always do that as well.
Well, shit, even you're abiding by the bloody rules. That's bloody good. What about Kalgoorlie Cops?
I saw the series of Kalgoorlie Cops.
I saw it when I was in New Zealand.
And it's all over the world. In Ireland, they were ringing me up. In England, they were ringing me up. In Portugal, they were ringing me up. And it was a very big success.
Was it?
Yeah, massive, all around the world.
What do you think the people in Kalgoorlie thought of it? Because obviously it's media and they just want to get the jump on the hype train. They want to show the worst of Kalgoorlie. But you and I both know that Kalgoorlie's a bloody ripper joint.
Yeah, look, I think it was a bit over the top. But then, I mean, the first scene I saw was in Kalgoorlie Hotel with a girl coming out, getting arrested by police because she got her shoe and hit a bloke and it still went in his head. And I mean, that was the first part of the series.
Assault.
But you could get that anywhere. If you took scenes in relation to,
imagine if they did a bloody TV series on Naughty Nights in Northbridge.
That's right. So I think it was a bit overdone. But, with the media, with TV, that's what they get.
Okay, so what about, let's get into Silver Lake Resources.
So, look, I was involved. When I got to Kalgoorlie, I got involved with a bloke who is probably a mentor in the mining industry. He passed away a couple of years ago, called Raymond Wright. He was an absolute superstar. Him and his family owned mines in Victoria and West Australia, all over the place. Met him, he became a client. He owned the Daisy Milano gold mine in Kalgoorlie. And
that's the gift that keeps on giving, eh?
And I helped him over the years, 20 years, private gold mine, operate. I was basically kind of managing the process for him. We talk every day, 5 days a week for 20 years, yeah?
Wow.
And he was absolutely fantastic. The Wright family, all the family were fantastic people. And I got involved with there, and then I started getting involved with other prospectors. I act for a lot of prospectors in Kalgoorlie, friends of mine. So if you see me in Kalgoorlie, I go out every Friday.
Do you know Shane Callaghan?
I know of Shane, yeah.
Yeah, we actually interviewed Shane a few days ago.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, there's a lot. I go every Friday with 15 blokes. Average age would be 76. And they're all taxi drivers, prospectors, etc. And I've been doing that for 25 years.
Awesome.
And I think really people like Billy Powell, who's a famous prospector in Kalgoorlie.
Still around?
Oh, yeah, he's still around. I've got a lot of stories of Billy Powell. I was telling people at the RIU conference this week about him. He's a legend. He's about 86 years old. And big womanizer at 86 in Kalgoorlie with a Zimmer frame every Friday night. So,
really? Where's he going? Where's he chasing the shares?
He goes with Tats Club, Irish pub, and then he goes to Wild West.
Really?
Yes, he likes a skimpy. So, I mean, he's 86. Yeah. But certainly in Kalgoorlie, you get a wide range of people, and the prospectors are the salt of the earth, brilliant people.
Do you think that we're in a modern-day gold rush?
Absolutely, 100%. I mean, look, if you look at the price of gold today, so when I was involved with Daisy Milano...
Actually, we've just bloody sidelined everything, because the question was, what are we doing with what's going on with, take me back to the Silver Lake Resources story.
Yeah, so go on.
But let's go modern day gold rush. We'll go back to Silver Lake.
So what happened there was Daisy Milano we were producing gold, selling it at $250 an ounce. And we thought that was good compared to what it is today. The prospector himself decided to sell the mine. I helped him. We sold it to...
Do you remember how deep it was at the time?
It was an underground mine. It had a portal underground, narrow vein, high grade.
Yep.
Okay, so it wasn't bulk mined. And I always said it's a 1 million ounce deposit. And I think they produced...
How did you know that?
Oh, you just
know.
A
gut feeling.
It's a gut feeling. I was involved with him in buying all the assets around the Bull, the Leslie, the Rosemary, etc. So he was a genuine prospector. He operated these mines with his family and friends. And we were producing gold. And probably at that time, 15, 20 years, we were the biggest private operation, but not making much money, but it was a gold operation.
And all the processing was done at Lakewood Mill.
So what happened then was we bought, it was done, myself and Ray bought a plant in Kalgoorlie called Burbanks. We owned it together, and we used to transport the ore from Daisy Milano to Burbanks. It was going 10-gram dirt. I bought that mill with him from Amalg Resources. And then
how much did you pay for it? How much did you pay for a mill back then? What year?
It was probably about 30 years ago. We paid 1.2 vendor finance from Amalg. And then when we sold it to Ramelius Resources because they had that beautiful deposit down there. Operated the mill, and he decided, look, let's get out of this. I want to sell. A deal was done with Perilya, and at that time, Ray listened a lot to a lawyer who I was a bit worried about at the time, and sold it to Perilya. Perilya operated it for a couple of years. They had no idea what they were doing. It was a narrow vein, high-grade deposit, and they bulk mined it. And people like myself and Ray went back there and said, oh, my God, what are they doing? Now, the fact is they never paid him out because it was a payment over a period of time. So it became a problem for poor Ray Wright and his family. So what happened then was Perilya probably spent $52 million on it, and they were losing money because they were trying to bulk mine it when it's narrow vein, high grade.
Get the airleggers in.
There were previously all airleggers. We had the best airleggers in Kalgoorlie with Stanco and Bargy and all them. And Perilya, the management of it was not that good at that time. They did some stupid things. They decided not to use the mill that we've been using, but to put it in New Celebration. What they were doing is they were selling on bulk samples on the belt, and previously 12-gram dirt was coming through at 6 grams, but it was going through at 12, 13 grams. Because a lot of this coarse gold, you can't actually sample it. And they made stupid mistakes like that. Then they decided, I heard they were going to sell Daisy Milano. So what happened then was, at that time in 2007, I acted for Les Davis. And Les...
well-known name in the industry.
Managing director of Silver Lake subsequently. He came to see me and he said, do you want to invest in a company called Silver Lake? There's 7 of us. People like Paul Chapman, Les Davis, Chris Banasak, Ryan Kennedy.
Rob Humphreys?
Yeah, Rob came later on.
Okay.
Peter Johnson from Menara.
Yeah.
All of these blokes, there's 2 other ones, that all worked at Silver Lake in Kambalda. So we put money in. It was a $1 million company.
Was it how much?
$1 million. We put $100,000 each or whatever. Then what happened was they said to me, can you keep an eye for any opportunities? So I rang Les up. I said, Les, I think the Daisy Milano, which got 240,000 ounces, may become available. So he said, can you get me and Paul Chappie in there for a meeting with the directors of Perilya to tell them the interest of buying it? Organised a meeting, went in there with Paul Chapman and Les Davis, a couple of Perilya directors. They said, who are you? And he said, I'm Paul Chapman. I'm chairman of Silver Lake Resources, unlisted public company. Who are you? I'm Les Davis, managing director. And they both at that time worked for Consmin, which is Michael Keenan. And then they
were
both...
moonlighting?
Well, no, they were looking at doing something,
right.
different for themselves and their friends. And if we got a project. what happened, they left the room and Paul said to me, now Paul's director of now, he's been chairman of Black Cat Syndicate, Dreadnought.
Black Cat's bloody.
Multiple. He's
really
an
well.
absolutely terrific bloke. He's a chartered accountant like myself, but salt of the earth bloke like Les Davis. And I think what happened then was he said, oh, that went great. And he said, there's no chance they're going to deal with us. So I said, leave it to me. So I went back in the room. And remember, this was like, I know, 25 years ago. 2007 it was, or whatever that year. I went back in the room with the directors there. I said, look, you guys have bought a lease off a prospector in Kalgoorlie, and you've dudded him. You have not paid him the money for the lease, and you people don't know what you're doing. I said, it's a narrow vein, high-grade body. You've bulk-minded, and you're losing money. So they said to me, well, what are you going to do? And who are you? I said, oh, look, I'm
the Don.
No, I'm from Kalgoorlie. I'm just an accountant from Kalgoorlie. And I'm letting you know, I've put a caveat on all your leases. And unless you do a deal with Silver Lake, you're not going to be able to sell it. Wow. And within 6 weeks, it was sold to Silver Lake Resources. I did a deal with them, got paid in shares. Silver Lake Resources then got IPO'd for $30 million. The shares were up and down for the first year or two. Yep. Then Sprott Asset Management came in when they were 40 cents, and they landed up going up to $4.
They went up to $3.16.
Was it? No, more than that, I think.
Was it?
Yeah.
I remember. So I used to work for Silver Lake Resources many, many years ago. 2014,
look, great vlogs.
I was there during the Luke Tonkin takeover.
Yeah.
They had the Takabiana issue.
Yeah.
Rob Humphreys was there as the CFO. A whole heap of blokes on site took a 7.5% pay decrease. But look what Luke Tonkin did with that company.
Yeah. Well, look, I think really initially Les Davis and Paul Chapman set it up. Yep. It was all set up by them. Luke Tonkin was terrific afterwards. Different management structure.
When did they buy Lakewood Mill? Because Lakewood Mill's been through the ringer with
Lakewood. I negotiated that deal for Silver Lake.
Yeah, how did that go?
Well, I had a phone call from Paul Chapman saying, can you go down with Les Davis and look at Lakewood Mill? Because we're thinking of buying it. I went there with Les Davis. We looked around. It was crap.
What are you looking at? Right, what are you looking at when you go to look at a bloody old processing plant or new processing plant? Because I worked there.
Yeah, so what happened there
as a contractor? What
happened there was I think at that time it was owned by Chris Potts, Potsy and all. We went there, had a look at it, and the infrastructure was very bad. But when you look at these mills, they've got licenses, they've got permits, they've got electricity connected, etc. And at that time, the gold room was an open door. You walk in there and, there's no security, nothing like that. So I think they paid $2.5 million for it then. And then they put the mill in. And you know what happened with Takabiana? They spent a lot of money.
$110 million.
And they lost all the money relating to that.
Why was that?
Oh, look,
so they built the mill. Was it?
I think
they weren't able to, they were trying to go underground and they weren't able to put a portal in. Is that right?
Look, I don't know the details about it, but I know they lost a lot of money from it. But the management of Silver Lake initially, all those years, was absolutely superb. Chappie, Brian Kennedy, Chris Banasak, the geologist, etc., like that. I remember a time they rang me up and said, "We've got a big problem with native title. We can't do the open pits, and can you do anything for us?" I said, "Who's involved?" I made one phone call, and the native title got settled on the Monday after being in court for a year. And I rang Chris Banasak. I said, "Look, how much you want to pay?" I think it was $50,000. So I'll get a deal done for you with the native title, $50,000, done. And they couldn't believe it. And Chris Banasak said to me, "When I go to heaven, can I take you with me? And you can negotiate for me, yeah?"
Yeah, I actually might need some help there too, brother.
So it was really good. Look, and I think really in the end, Silver Lake was a big success story in Kalgoorlie. There was a change of management from Les Davis to Luke Tonkin. Luke is different management, superb bloke, very good at what he does. And they went on.
Super smart.
Yeah. And
Very smart.
they went on, and then Silver Lake then came into Vault. So it took them over.
Silver Lake went to
The
Red
Vault?
5.
Yeah, Red 5.
They did a merger.
Which is the
And
Vault.
then it went,
yeah.
and now I believe it's Vault.
Yeah, but certainly, look, people like myself look at it and say, we said this is a 1 million ounce deposit. And people don't believe you. Now it's produced 2 million ounces or something like that.
It's amazing. Yeah. Daisy Milano is just
So it was fantastic.
phenomenal.
What we did then was myself and Ray decided to set up our own company, McPherson's Resources,
Yep.
which then became, we did a merger with Intamin, which then became Horizon. And we've done the takeover of Poseidon at Greenfields plant to come to what it is today, Horizon Minerals, with a change of name coming soon, I'm being told.
I told you that, yeah. I mean, you obviously knew. On to Horizon Minerals, right? Beautiful segue. Thank you for that. Black Swan, and a nickel processing plant.
Certainly, look, 2 years ago, I've always said, unless you have a mill, if you're a gold operator, it becomes very, very difficult for you. Because if you're toll treating with somebody else, particularly if you do drilling and you get paid on drilling, you lose the coarse gold, gravity gold. You need your own mill. So I'd look at all the mills around Kalgoorlie, and I saw one opportunity, which was Poseidon. Nickel Mine had 2 mills, Lake Johnston and Black Swan. And I said, approached Peter Harold at Diggers.
I had Peter Harold on a few months ago.
And I said to Peter, look, we'd like to take you out. And he said, well, we're running a process. Go and speak to, I think it was Euros or somebody like that. And we bought the mill with $30 million in script. I've subsequently sold Lake Johnston, we have, to Forrestonia for $30 million cash. Shares are worth about $17 million. So that transaction, $48 million on that alone. We're looking at another deal with Windara, and we've got Black Swan. So we picked up this brilliant assets on a nickel mine, and we're going to convert the Black Swan from nickel to gold.
How many tons per annum?
It'll be about 2.2 million tons a year.
Alex Rivera said, if you had a processing plant capable of 3 million tons per annum, you are just guns a-blazing.
Look, I think really, I look at it and I say, look, I've always said we need a plant and we need to do 100,000 ounces a year. On 100,000 ounces a year, at today's price, let's say 7,000, generally companies should make about 50% net, about 350 million a year. The biggest issue in Kalgoorlie and everywhere, there's no mills around. So you can mine, you can have your gold, but there's nowhere to put it through.
I know a mining company that is hauling around 600 kilometres to Lakewood Mill. Obviously, Black Cat.
Yep.
Black Cat bought it from West Gold. It's a long way. Haulage is expensive.
Look, I certainly think that you've got a lot of the contracting companies that do 50-50 JVs. They're looking for
MMS, Mega Resources.
MMS, Macro, there's quite a few of them. Mega, I've dealt with Mega Resources.
Amazing. Kieran and Josh Conley. Josh Conley's a smart man.
And BML, Dowell Mapleson, there's quite a few of them. They're trying to get allocations on mills where they've done a JV with mining companies, which is a very smart thing to do. And they're all doing it pretty successfully.
What do you know about, I've actually haven't even bothered to look at any of these questions. This is great convo. What do you know about Kirkalocka? I know you and I a month or so ago had a bloody chat about it. Do you know what's going on there?
Well, look, I certainly think, from my knowledge with Kirkalocka, it's under care maintenance. I think SMS were involved. Danny Sweeney and the boys were involved there. Something happened there. I think it's been taken over by a Singaporean company. There's certainly people there like Rumble Resources and Odyssey. There's all these companies speaking to the Kirkalocka to see if they can do something there and, reestablish, get them into,
I heard, and I don't know if, well, I mean, the people that told me, I did ask the question, is this private? Should I be saying anything, passing this information on? I was told that the banks were involved, and they said if you can show, because it's quite a big plant, isn't it, Kirkalocka?
Yeah, I think it's a big plant,
So they had to show, I don't know, 3 million tonnes per annum from multiple sites, right? So obviously they're going to try and start this plant up and just do toll treating. So they don't have their own ore, but they're just going to toll treat everyone's around that location.
But that could be very successful at the moment because a lot of people are looking for opportunities.
Absolutely.
And the toll treating prices, which used to be $50 a tonne, have gone up to $100 a tonne. So the toll treating places can make a lot of money.
Yeah, it'd be great to see more mills come into action, get them out of care and maintenance, like what you're doing.
Yeah, I think the hard part is if you want to set up a new mill, you want to get the permits, you want to get native title, you want to get the water license. It could take you 4 or 5 years. So that's why I said we've got to look at something that's existing. And as you've seen this week, we've raised 175 million.
Amazing.
101 million is going to go into the mill, probably 45 million to the infrastructure. And within 15 months, we're going to have a mill to put the gold through.
Yeah. 12 months.
12 months, okay. You've been speaking the grind.
I have. Mate, I referred to you as the King of Kalgoorlie. What do you think of that title?
Look, I think that...
You are the Tony Gallardi. I mean, look, I don't mean any disrespect, but you are the Tony Gallardi of Kalgoorlie.
Well, I'm very good mates with Tony Gallardi. I looked after him race round, and in fact, it was quite funny. I'm going out with him in the race round for dinner, and Roger Cook came up to me and says, "Can I come with you?" And I said, "I'm with Gallardi." So we all went out for dinner together at the Palace Hotel.
Awesome.
But Tony Gallardi's a great bloke. But I
hope you gave them a discount on the meal.
Well, I think I went there and left, and I said to Tony, "Who paid for the bill?" He said, "I did." I said, "I hope you didn't let Roger pay for it." So, no, Tony Gallardi, look, the thing, that term came about 20 years ago by the Australian.
The King of Kalgoorlie?
Yeah.
Did it?
It was in the Australian, because I know a lot of reporters over the years. I used to socialise a lot of reporters and stuff. And at that time, I picked up the Australian one day in a business. And there's me, a photograph of myself, Andrew Forrest, and my ex-wife, Marie, on there. And it's a King of Kalgoorlie. And I think that thing is stuck over the years.
Let's talk about Marie.
Yes.
All right. Are we allowed to go personal?
Yes.
All right. Yeah. You were married. Obviously, you lost your first wife, Anne.
Yeah.
Married to Marie for how many years?
Oh, we were together for about 29 years.
Wow.
Marie's local Kalgoorlie, married for 29 years.
What happened?
Oh, well, what happened was, unfortunately for me, she got involved with somebody else at the end of the marriage. We broke up.
At the end of the marriage, like the marriage was on its way out?
No, I didn't know.
Oh, okay.
So when you're a person and you find out that somebody's had an affair with somebody else, it rocks you. And but what happened? She got involved, and I think the person she got involved with was targeting her for money. Yeah, landed up taking a lot of money off her, and then later on, within a year or two, she rang me up, and I said, "Look, come back. I'll help you out. Get you a house, get your car."
Had she moved from Kalgoorlie?
No, she was in there. And get your house, car. We'll set up an Irish pub, etc. So I turned the other cheek in that situation.
You're a bloody good man, Ashok.
Well, the Irish background always says, look, you've got to turn the other cheek, and you've got to look after everybody, no matter what happens. And what happened, and look, she's working with me now. She manages a Palace Hotel, and she's come out of that system she was. Of course, we've been separated. I've got a new girlfriend over the years. And I said to people, look, in the end, over the years, this is a bit of a comical stuff. In my first marriage, I lost 5 houses. Second marriage, I lost 5 houses. And I can't afford to lose any houses. Otherwise, I have nowhere to live. And the other thing was, I also said, as 9 months after my last breakup, went to my lawyers and I said, look, I don't know whether to cry more when my wife broke my heart, or 9 months later when my wife broke my bank account. So,
said every single man who's ever been divorced.
Look, I think in life, life is like a box of chocolates.
You never know what
you never know what you're going to get. And, and I think for a lot of breakdowns in marriages is you just got to move on.
Mm.
You got to do what's best for the other person, yourself, kids involved, and, put it behind you. And, you got to pick yourself up again.
Looking across all of the decades in mining, all of the time spent in the goldfields and everything that you've done, businesses, mining, accounting, what are your key takeaway points?
Look, I think I do a little bit of public speaking now and then to people. And, you see all these people, famous business people, not me, but other people. And, people are well known. And a lot of people try to identify what makes them different, And I said to everybody, you need to be honest. You need to be
Five H's.
5 H's. Honest, hardworking, humble, happy, and healthy. And if you do that, success is not based on what other people think you've done.
Mm.
Success is based on what you think. I mean, to me, there's people I know, the success they want to do is become a good soccer player or get on the footy team. To me, that's success because they think that. And no matter what you do in life or business, when you walk down the street and you got your head up high and you know what you've done good and you can always keep your head up high there, even if you're criticized by people for various things, that's the way to go. And in life, you always look after people. You always put your hand out to people and treat people like you want to be treated.
You've got a little story about Andrew Forrest. You knew him 40-odd years ago.
Yeah,
before he was Dr. Andrew Forrest. What is he a doctor in?
I'm not too sure, but I've last time I saw Andrew was at Diggers and Dealers, and he asked me to look after.
When? How long ago?
A couple of years. It would be about 7-8 years ago.
Okay. Oh, shoot.
And he's a lovely bloke, and he was there with his wife at that stage in a cola. And I took him back to the palace, looked after him that night, But there's a lot of people out there. There's a lot of brilliant people in the mining industry. They're ordinary people. You meet them, you have a chat with them. And Kalgoorlie's a bit different. I've had prime ministers, I've had premiers, I've got ministers. And when you come to Kalgoorlie, you get treated like everybody else.
So they should. They're just another beer bum in the shower.
And that's what Kalgoorlie's like. The people of Kalgoorlie and the Goldfields, as you've seen yourself, are absolutely brilliant. People look after other people and they do it genuinely. And I've mentioned before to you that, look, you can have no job, nowhere to live, no food. You go to a pub in Kalgoorlie, you walk out, you've got food, you've got a place to live, and you've got a job. That's why in Kalgoorlie, and for instance, with my accounting practice, 30% of all the people I do work for are from New Zealand. 20% are from Tasmania. So I've got a New Zealand and a Tasmanian flag in my office. Why are they New Zealand, Tasmania? In my opinion, the New Zealanders and Tasmanians are the best miners in Australia.
Best miners?
Yeah. In the mining industry, yeah.
Hard workers.
Well, look, there's a lot of people from Tasmania I know who are the best air leggers I've ever seen in my life. And they seem to come from Tasmania for some reason.
So what about the Kiwis? Why do you like
Kiwis?
them so much?
Kiwis are fantastic. Look, Kiwis to me, and I relate to Kiwis because I'm born and brought up in Ireland, rugby union background, All Blacks and stuff like that. And one thing I love about the Kiwis, they're very family orientated. They've got a lot of brothers. And I've been to Auckland for the
Rugby World Cup?
Bledisloe World Cup, and I've been drinking Steinlager, Spates.
You know what they say if you drink Spates?
Pardon?
You know what they say?
No.
Spates, no mates.
No mates, okay.
That's what they reckon. It's a terrible drink. Waikato.
Tui, Steinlager,
yep.
all of those drinks. So, I mean, to me, I think the New Zealanders, Kiwis, in Kalgoorlie get on very well because they're in the mixture of culture.
Done
Everybody,
so well.
and
Look at Tim Topman.
Yeah,
Tim Toppy.
Yeah.
Gus and Hugh Lacey.
Oh, Gus and Hugh.
Bloody hell. Done well, really well for themselves and down to earth.
Look, there's people like Gus and Hugo and Matty May from VM Drilling, and these blokes are absolute legends.
Isn't Matty May a Kiwi?
I'm not sure if he's a Kiwi. But
okay.
But these blokes look after a lot of people. They've got people working for them.
Yep.
They go out of their way, family-wise, etc. And these blokes are absolute legends.
To finish, and we've bloody had some yarns, what would your advice be to anyone wanting to get into the mining industry and also come to Kalgoorlie?
I think really...
what do you need?
You don't need anything. You could go to Kalgoorlie. I've had people there, Irish backpackers go to Kalgoorlie, and within a month or two, they're working at KCGM at $45 an hour, 12-hour shifts, 7 days a week, 7 days on, off. And in this market, they're looking for unskilled people as well as skilled. But if I was somebody in mining, just pick what you want to do, and whatever you do, whatever company you work for, be honest and be hardworking, and you will be successful. And success is not based on money. It's what you want to do and yourself, and to become successful in yourself and with your family. It might be success buying a house or buying a car or whatever, But there are great opportunities, and don't let anybody put you down. Just get up there, and if you do fail on one thing, pick yourself up, just go again.
Have another crack.
That's right. There's nothing wrong with failure. I think really that there's a lot of good people in the Goldfields, regional areas that will help you. And, if you need advice, there's lots of people around. And I think, the country areas in Australia, particularly in West Australia, are fantastic. It's a lot of mateship and contacts to get jobs. It's very easy if you got contacts to get jobs for people and things like that.
Awesome. Mate, look, I truly appreciate you coming and spending the time with me. I know you're a busy man. You're across multiple boards. You're helping, as you've told us on the show, you're helping. You're keen to help absolutely everybody out. So, look, I'm so proud to be able to tell a little portion of your story. And obviously we don't have the time for you to tell us everything, but I'm pretty bloody happy with part one. Part one, absolutely amazing. And part two will shape up to be pretty bloody special as well. So I thank you very much. And I know what will happen. We'll turn the cameras off, and then you're going to keep telling me awesome stories, and I'm going to say, we should have bloody said that on the show.
Yeah, look, in the mining scene, I'm non-executive chairman of Horizon Minerals.
Yes.
Which we raised 175 this week.
Amazing.
I'm also chairman of another company called Osorum Resources, which Andrew Pumphrey is the MD. He's a superstar.
What's he like?
Absolutely genius.
Is he?
And he's doing
What's his background?
Geology. And he used to work with the McPhersons, but he's involved in a company that we're going to do a heap leaching operation, small company, but I've got Forrest owners have just taken 19.9% of the company. I think in the end, you get involved with companies with good people and try and help them out, and everything works out. There are a lot of directors I see in some companies that it may become lifestyle companies, but a lot of people at Goldfields, there's people like Beacon Resources, Graham McGarry, and all these companies that are the hardest workers ever, Andrew Pumphrey. We're on the boots. We're on the ground. We live in Kalgoorlie.
You love that.
We
saying,
know what
don't
we're
you?
going to do.
Boots on the ground.
Boots on the ground.
Red dust in your veins.
We're not sitting there having cups of teas and having dinners and drinks, and that makes a big difference.
Thank you very much once again. I'm looking forward to turning these bloody cameras off, getting these headsets off, and going and having a couple of frothies with you.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Josh. I really appreciate it. It came out of the blue to invite me here. A lot of friends of mine have been on the...
What's your favourite episode?
Well, I think I liked Wayne Bramwell's one. I told
he's all right.
I said to him he should get a haircut and get a real job.
Yeah.
And I watched Alex's one as well. So
I'm inspired by Alex. Yeah. I think Bright Star, what a story. And it's in its infancy.
I was in the board of Kings West Resources with a great bloke called Jonathan Downs, and we basically were involved in bringing Bright Star to merge the companies. So Bright Star took off King West. I got offered a directorship in Bright Star, and I said, look, I don't really want to do that with Alex and all.
How do you have the time?
Because I want to concentrate on what I've been doing. But great bloke, great company. There's a lot of good companies in Kalgoorlie. Bright Star, you've got Beacon Resources, you've got now Forestania, which are buying everything.
Who are they backed by?
I think, as far as I'm aware, Forestania, which is David Garrity, ex-Minres, is backed by the Kerry Stokes and Tim Roberts. You know?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so, I mean, they're big and they're buying everything. And David Garrity is a great operator. He's buying everything.
Do you think that we will see one day 3 main gold companies? Like let's say, will we see a BHP, a Rio Tinto, and an FMG in gold? If everyone's consolidating, if everyone's doing M&As and they're buying up this, buying up that, do you think is that the end result? Is that the goal?
I don't think it will happen. Look, I've known like Northern Star when it was a $5 million company with Bill Beaumont.
Yeah.
Okay, today it's a $40 billion company. So I've seen that progress. I've seen Silver Lake. I've seen you see all these companies developing, and Genesis with Raleigh Finlayson, fantastic
What's he
company,
like?
Absolute superb bloke. He's another Kalgoorlie or Leonora boy. I've known his parents. His sister Marnie Finlayson on the board of Northern Star, and I think she's gone on the board of Devex for Tim Goyder, I think. Great family, but a lot of these people are connected to Kalgoorlie, and we all know each other. We've known each other since we were kids, and suddenly Billy Beaumont's from Esperance. I think Luke Tonkin's from the region. You've got Stuart Tonkin. You've got
Not brothers, by the way.
no, they're not related.
No.
And then you've got a lot of people are related to other people, but the Kalgoorlie seems to have this base of people, and I would give a big plug to the School of Mines.
Absolutely.
I think the School of Mines in Kalgoorlie is absolutely fabulous, and they do so much, and they should be given recognition, and the government should support them, and everybody should support them, because a lot of people who are MDs in all these companies,
I know.
whether it's Andrew Pumphrey, whether it's Les Davis, whether it's Luke Tonk, they're all from the School of Mines.
Darren Strello, the
Darren Strello is a good friend of Bellevue. I mean, if you let's have a look at Northern Star. Northern Star, the main people that were there are all heads of other companies. Darren Strello, Bellevue. Luke Craig, Orabanda.
I contacted him. Do you know Luke?
Yeah, great
Very
bloke.
well. Can you talk to him to get him on the bloody show, mate? Because I've reached out to him and he hasn't replied to me.
Yeah.
But a few people at Orabanda have said, "Nah, mate, he's not interested." I'm like, well, maybe we can get him on.
Yeah. Well, look, I'm the Bill Beaumont Developer Global. Stuart
They've
Tonkin
done very well.
is absolutely, as I said, Stuart Tonkin to me, while he's managing director of Northern Star, I think he could be managing director of the National Bank, Coles or Woolworths. He's that good. So that you've got these people out there, Darren with Bellevue,
What about
Simon Lawson
Yep.
from Spartan, and who's now the vice chairman of Ramelius, ex-Northern Star. There's a whole group of them that were at Northern Star, and they've gone in to become the big magnets all round, which is very interesting.
Ashok, I'd like to get you back. Would you be keen to bloody co-host a couple of episodes with me?
Oh, look, I'm happy to do that. Yeah, I'm happy to look at anything like that. I know a lot of people in the mining industry. They know me. And
I'm going to actually, what I'm going to do is I just thought about it then. I might actually just springboard off the back of you saying, hey, listen, I'm going to get you on, I want to get whoever on the show and have you co-host an episode with me. You can host the bloody thing.
Nah, look, I'm happy to look at doing it. There are people out there with stories to be told.
I know, and I keep saying it.
And
amazing people, amazing stories, and that's what this bloody gold room thing's about. Getting some ripper stories out there. The mining industry, I mean, I'm so passionate about it. The mining industry is amazing, and we have so many great people. We have so many amazing companies. I'm really passionate about informing the younger generation of this is a sustainable industry. This is an amazing industry that we need more people than ever before. The critical minerals saga, and while it might be a hot topic and buzzwords and all this carry on, these kids aren't playing a PlayStation. No one's driving a car without the bloody mining industry.
Look, I think West Australia, we're very lucky to be in a state that does well. Look, in Kalgoorlie, I've seen, gold's up, nickel's down. Nickel's up, gold's down. And, in the last 2 years, they've had knock with the Kalgoorlie nickel smelter closing down. But all that work has gone to other people. There's, liners have come on board.
That's a huge part.
We've got, the other day, a friend of mine, Rob Henderson, Coogee Chemicals are looking at doing something there.
What are they looking at doing?
I think they might be looking at some sort of plant in Kalgoorlie, So there's other industries.
Manufacturing.
I was asked years ago what I would do. What would you do? And what would you, if you wanted to do something different? And I said to people, look, you know what? I lived in Hereford for a year. I would love to see another industry besides mining there, something like the army base.
You did say that to me.
Or the RAF base or something like in Kalgoorlie.
What about this? Yeah. The freight hub.
Absolutely 100%. Kalgoorlie should be a freight hub. We're in the middle and between the eastern states and West Australia. We should become a central freight hub in the whole of Australia.
I love it. I said the same thing. When I was there all those years ago, I said, why are we freighting all the fruit, the produce, everything, going across to bloody Perth and then back to Kalgoorlie?
Yeah, I think one of the things I would say about Kalgoorlie, which is probably not the best thing in the last couple of years, is it's becoming too much of a fly-in, fly-out town. We're seeing 8,000 people coming to Kalgoorlie every week. Probably 5,000 people a week are fly-in, fly-out workers. I would rather see the old Western mining model in Kambalda, where the mining companies build houses and provide facilities so families move to Kalgoorlie. So there's a benefit there for the schools.
You can't move there if there's no houses. You can't move there if there's no houses, if the council's locked up the land. There's issues with the council with the water. There's a water issue at the moment.
Well, that's been sorted out.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah. No, I was involved in some of the stuff they had with the racing water.
Yeah.
They've had problems with the
Linus has taken all their water?
Look, I mean, it was a strange situation, but got sorted out by the state government, who did a good job. But I think really in the end is the council themselves. I don't know if you saw the CEO. The CEO of the council is on 10 grand a week. He's on sick leave. He's not coming back.
And they're paying him $10,000 a week.
500 grand a year.
Oh, get rid of him.
Yeah, well, he's not coming back, so he's probably getting paid on sick leave. So there are issues. There's state issues. There's
who makes the call? Who do you speak to about that? How do all these people in Kalgoorlie call up and say, hang on a minute, I'm paying ridiculous rates and it's going to...
Well, look. I think that there's a lot of people. There's been council elections. You've got a good mayor there, Glenn Wilson. But certainly a lot of these, when you get bureaucrats like that, CEOs, who are put into place and they don't perform, it's actually not good for the region.
What's he done? So what's he off on sick leave for? Twisted an ankle.
I can't say, but certainly it's come up in the newspapers, in the media. And it's not good for Kalgoorlie. It's not been good for 2 years. While I've seen a lot of CEOs, there's some really good ones, some really bad ones. But when you get people who can't perform, it affects all these businesses like the water issue, which they were going to cancel the races, and things like that. So, I mean, to me, we need to have a better infrastructure with people. And look, the state government have been good. Look, I've got no... criticism over the state government. I mean, I think a lot of region areas like Kalgoorlie have got to have better, electricity power bases where, you don't get the electricity going off and things like that. But I mean, it's
last year they had a few blackouts, didn't they?
Yeah, I think really to me, what surprises me is mining industry all around WA. When you make a lot of money or you turn over or you pay royalties, a lot of that money should come back into the regional areas.
Absolutely.
To build up the infrastructures of those areas, whether you're talking about Port Hedland or Karratha or Kalgoorlie. So the National Party, I'm not being political, when they had royalties for regions, there was a part of this money coming back in there. And I'm not saying politically, but that's what should happen. We need these regional areas which are making all the money. We need money reinvested in those areas.
Maybe don't send it all over east.
Yes, true. Yeah, we won't talk about taxes. Yeah,
we won't.
so,
We won't. Ashok, thank you very much for coming in. We appreciate, and as I said before, I'm definitely going to get you back. I just looked over at Dimitri before when I said I think we'll get you back as a co-host because there's a few amazing guests which I've reached out to, and some that have run some amazing companies, not just gold. And I think your expertise and knowledge, while I have a passion for the industry, and my knowledge is obviously every time I do an interview, it's growing. But I think having someone like you, the king of Kalgoorlie, the bloody mafia don, we've cleared that up. I'd love to get you back as a co-host.
Thank you very much, Josh. It's been fantastic being here, and as I said to you, you could have asked me any questions, and I'll just answer them.
I have
yeah?
all of the ones that I have asked you. You've answered truthfully and honestly, and thank you very much.
And in West Australia, there are so many good people in the mining industry. They've got stories to tell.
Yeah, I know that.
I mean, and to me, your show is fantastic.
Thank you.
People like myself listen to it and say, this is great listening to these people. Because we would not know. When you see people, you don't know their background.
I know.
And you just see them in the news, you see them on deals you do, but you don't know their background.
That's exactly right. That's what spurred this on. Is I was just like, there's amazing people, and those people have an amazing story. They're not just the CEO of a company. Yeah. They didn't, the hard work, the drive, the dedication that went into starting that business, from the struggles and everything that they took on board. The stresses that they took on board.
There's a lot of people that I know, including myself, that do a lot, but are not public, community-minded, stuff like that. And, we really appreciate, as I was saying earlier, I'm a migrant from Ireland.
I'm a migrant from New Zealand.
And I think that all us migrants from all around the world that come to Australia, we should be appreciative of the Australian government for letting us come here.
Absolutely.
Working here, being citizens,
and
we should give back.
That's the key, Ashok. I think you come to this great bloody country of ours, right? And you work. You don't just turn up and take handouts, and that's the key.
Well, I'm very appreciative, and when I got the Centenary Medal, my dad loved it because it was the Australian government saying you've done a great job.
Yeah, that's amazing.
But I think with all of us, Australia is a great place. Kalgoorlie is a great place, and West Australia is absolutely terrific.
God's country.
We're lucky to be living in God's country, and we should appreciate it and just say thank people for being here. But also, what can we do? What can you or me as an individual do to help people that are less fortunate than us? It's not about business. It's not about mining. There are things we can all do that makes a difference. And it doesn't have to be public. You've got to hand your hand out to help people who are less fortunate.
I agree. I 100% agree. Once again, mate, thank you very much. I'm laughing because every time we've gone to finish up the episode, you and I just go off on another one. So look,
we could be sitting here for a couple of hours.
We will, mate, but I'll tell you what, we might open that bloody bottle of
gin?
Tonic water.
Okay.
Down there. Look, thank you once again, Ashok. Much appreciated.
Okay, thank you very much, and thank you to all the crew. I really appreciate it.
None of this would happen without them. So
they're terrific.
I just do my thing. I sit here and talk to some amazing people. Happy to do that. But the support from the mining industry and Mega Resources, they're a bloody ripper company.
And I would say to everybody, look, with these podcasts, tell all your friends.
Thank you very much.
Put it on Facebook. Put it on LinkedIn. Tell people there's a story to be told with these people. And it'll make a big difference to a lot of people. They don't really understand, yeah?
They don't.
And I'm like everybody else. I'd like to help everybody out. So if there's things I say or do that can help other people, I'm happy.
It's the same as me, mate. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for tuning into part 2 of this awesome 2-part mini-series. As Ashok just alluded to, look, support us. come on, subscribe to the channel. Comment down below because that's what the team keeps saying. It's your support is much appreciated. Thank you very much.